Hello everyone, Kyle Fridland of the Fantasy Simpletons here with the Week 15 edition of the Waiver Wire. As per usual, we will be covering all the major positions, quarterback, running back, wide receiver, and tight end, 2 per every position. Week 15, the fantasy playoffs are finally here. After half the competition's wiped away, you are only a few games away from the championship. If you're watching this, however, it means you've missed your first round bye. I'm sorry to hear that, but I will be your guide to help you through the wastelands of the Waiver Wire. We will start with the quarterbacks, and if you've gotten this far, you probably have your quarterback situation figured out, but just in case, if you're someone that hasn't, there's a couple guys on the waiver wire that you can get. Starting with Trevor Lawrence here. He's only owned in about 40% of leagues going off of ESPN statistics, and he's facing the Jets this week. That's a pretty good matchup for him, and he's shown to do well in pretty good matchups. It's most likely he's not going to be like a top 5 fantasy quarterback on the week. He usually isn't. But he's a very solid, reliable starter if you're in need for it. Outside of that, there's not a lot of options at this point in the waiver wire. Most weeks, there are always guys taken up or taken away at this point. Sam Darnold is a possible option. He is facing the Indianapolis Colts this week. They are weakened, they are hurt, not only on the defense, but on the offensive side with Daniel Jones. Sam Darnold is incredibly boom or bust. He's very risky, but if you don't have any other option, try to go with him. If you're looking with others, Jacoby Brissett, he's still out there in 50% of leagues, but big caveat, he's facing the Texans this week. If anybody can stop that pass-happy demon, it's gonna be the Houston Texans. And if you're really bold, really bold, then JJ McCarthy's facing the Cowboys. And that's all I'm gonna say on that matter. That's it. Now looking at the running backs, it's gonna be the same thing I've been mentioning the last few weeks. Get the backups to your great players, especially a guy like Blake Corum. Blake Corum has shown he's starting to get a little bit more work. Maybe Kyron's feeling a little hurt. Maybe they want to protect him for the playoffs in the same way that the Bills did with James Cook last season, but he had a big game. He's been getting more yardage as of late, and if you're in a really bad pickle, you might need to use him as a possible, even flex option. He's going up against Detroit this week. The team's going to start trusting him more. I think they'll start giving him more carries and lean more on the run game as it gets into the colder season, as we get into December. Now, of course, the big ad for the week is probably going to be Ollie Gordon. We're still waiting to see if Devon Achane is going to be fully healthy or not, because if he's not healthy, everybody's going to be going to get Ollie Gordon off the waiver wire. He's going up against Pittsburgh this week. Pittsburgh, who doesn't have a particularly great run defense to go with their abysmal pass defense. This should be a big chance if you're still trying to look at this point. Maybe you've dealt with injuries, maybe you just chose the wrong people, maybe you're just trying to look for a slightly better matchup or a slightly better option as a starting running back this week. You might want to get Ollie Gordon. And if there's anybody else, keep an eye out for some of the guys that are still owned in like maybe 60-70% of leagues, but there's still some leagues where they're still out there. Guys like Devin Neal or Kyle Monangai is a big one right now. Look out for those type of guys. They'll surely be there. Looking at the pool for wide receivers, there's not too many names this time around, but there's still a couple notable ones that I'll mention right now. Jaden Higgins. Jaden Higgins, I mentioned him last week in the waiver wire, and now I'm mentioning him here again. He's very solid. He will get you 8 to 10 to 12 fantasy points a game. Not a super high ceiling, but he's got a floor that is very respectable. And if you're in a bad spot, he's going to be there for you if you have like really bad wide receiver depth or you're just dealing with bad matchups. Jaden Reed as well. He could be someone that's very boom or bust week to week going into this point of the fantasy playoffs. He just came back from an injury. He looks pretty all right. I think he's going to start doing more work and taking some plays away from Christian Watson. But if you don't love the matchup, and I don't love the matchup either, it's against Denver. He's still one of the most popular options. But if the matchup scares you, if you need someone for this week, look out for Ryan Flournoy, the Dallas Cowboys wide receiver. Why? Because of the CeeDee Lamb injury. On Thursday, when he got that little like fencing pose from the concussion he went out with, Ryan Flournoy stepped up big time. If CeeDee Lamb's not playing in the game, do give him a shot. He's playing against the Vikings this week. I think he could be a very decent spot starter. And let's end things off with the tight ends here today. Darren Waller, please pick him up, and I promise you, play him. I know it didn't look good last week, but the game script got ahead of him. He didn't get a lot of opportunities. He didn't need to. They were up so much they didn't need to forcibly use him, especially in the red zone. But here he's got some good matchups coming up. He's going to be facing the Steelers this week, and then the Bengals next week. The Bengals that made, by the way, they made Dawson Knox look like a freaking, the next coming of Travis Kelce. If they can do that with Dawson Knox, then Darren Waller can absolutely do that in both this matchup against the Steelers and next week against the Bengals. That is more than enough reasons to pick him up if you've been streaming tight ends all season long. And then on the other side, Theo Johnson. Some heat came off him a little bit because of a not so great performance against the Patriots and a bye week, so people dropped him. But remember, him and Jackson Dart have a great connection. They were facing a tough team in the Patriots. Now they're facing the Commanders. They're facing the Commanders on their own home turf. It's going to be a much better matchup for Theo Johnson. He's going to be a guy that Dart is going to consistently look to when he's in trouble. Expect Theo Johnson to be a top fantasy tight end for this week. If you're looking for anybody else this week, try Bretton Strange. Again, game script got the better of him, but they're going to start getting into closer and closer games. I guarantee you it's going to be a little better as it goes along. And that is all. Thank you so much for watching. If you like... And that is all for this episode. Thank you so much for watching. You can follow us on any of our socials here. We also do longer form videos on YouTube where we talk about players you want for the playoffs or players you want to avoid. Thank you so much. And in a complex fantasy world, just remember to stay simple. God bless everyone.